University of Minnesota, Rochester, our town.
Do I want the fame? If not,
In the summer of 2016, Ibtihaj Muhammad made history as the first athlete to wear hijab while competing for the United States in the Olympics. Our guests today are following her example on their high school fencing team. Nasra Raye and Eklas Abdullahi join us to tell us more. Welcome to our town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How did you both start fencing?
So I started in my 9th grade year when this sport was first introduced at our school. And at the time, there weren't any sports for the girls. There was only one sport, and it was for the boys. And so when Ibtihaj made an appearance and we needed a sport for the girls, my coach, who actually fenced in her past high school and college, they suggested fencing. And I started, it was towards the ending, and then Eklas joined in her 9th grade year, which was the following year after. So, yeah.
Yeah. I remember the year before I started high school, I saw Ibtihaj fencing, and my dad's like, Eklas, you should start fencing. And I was like, sure. I just like, yeah, whatever.
Did you know what fencing was?
No. I had no clue. And the next, like when I started my high school year, fencing was offered as a sport, and I was like, wow, that's ironic, but coincidence. Yeah. And I joined, and it's what inspired me. And she inspired me coincidentally, but for who she was, she also inspired me.
That's great. So can you give us a little bit of fencing 101? So you had no experience, either of you, with fencing, but now I'm sure you're experts.
Yeah.
So I understand that there are 3 different types of fencing. What type of fencing do you all do?
Okay, so I fence all 3 weapons, which are epee, foil, and saber. But this year I'm competitively fencing epee class.
Yeah. I know all 3. My first freshman year, I fenced foil, and now my sophomore year, I fenced foil, and my junior year right now, I'm doing epee as well. She competitively fenced saber. I didn't, but yeah.
Okay, so saber, foil, and epee.
Yes.
Okay, are there very big differences between the 3 of them?
Yes.
Can you maybe give us a little bit of like what's the difference between the 3 of them?
Yeah, saber is much, the first basic weapon is foil actually. And this one has like a combination of both of the rules from saber and epee. So foil has the upper part of your body from like the chest area all the way up is target. And it's a smaller and thinner sword than both saber and epee.
So it's the one that we might see kind of flopping around a little bit. Is that
Is saber.
Saber.
Okay.
Saber is
See,
yeah.
don't know.
Saber is like the 3rd weapon. I think it's like complete upper body, including arms. Foil does not include arms.
And your mask.
And your mask, yeah. And you can slash. This is one Ibtihaj does. And the last weapon is epee, which is full body. It's the one we both do right now. Heaviest weapon, and you can hit like almost anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And what has the participation on the team taught you? Like, how many girls are on there, and what are some of the big lessons that you're learning as part of the fencing team?
Well, so right now there are 9 competitively, but we're having more fencers since the freshmen are coming in, and like being a part of a team, and actually like especially with the people who have the same background and same like thing that understand you and understand what they're going through and what you're going through actually builds up that teamwork, and you're like, hey, you're doing that, like, you know, you actually relate to them. So I guess that really made us a part of a team. Yeah.
Almost a family.
Yeah.
In a sense, since we travel a lot together.
Okay. Do you have any upcoming games?
Ooh,
we
quite
do.
a few.
We have-
Season just started, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we just had a tournament last week. We're having one in a week on November 18th, I believe. And we're really looking forward to states too. We're
Yeah.
excited for that.
Where are
That's in February.
where are states going to be?
It's going to be
At a
in,
high school?
yeah, I think in Blake.
A private high
Yeah.
school up in the cities, I think.
So I mentioned Ibtihaj Muhammad earlier, and you've also mentioned her. I also heard that you had an opportunity to meet her. Can you tell me what that experience was like to meet a real-life Olympian?
Okay, so this was actually right after states, a couple weeks later, where one of our fencers, she just graduated, but she saw this conference for strong Muslim women, and she saw that Ibtihaj was the keynote speaker, and there was like the scholarship going out too, since it was a bit on the pricey side, so they offered it to people who wanted to go, and so she told all of us, she made all of us sign up.
Yeah.
She like tracked us down, and then we also got our coach to come with us, and after like she spoke, we actually told her about what we were doing, and she was interested and actually saw that what she did is actually inspiring other young women as well.
Yeah. And most recent, you also had another really exciting thing happen, which was you took some photos. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened with these photos that you took over at Plummer?
Oh yeah, okay, so first, the photos were taken at Plummer House, and Sarah, the fencer that also took a seat to meet Ibtihaj, she uploaded them onto her Instagram, and then Nasra uploaded them on Twitter. She went to sleep, and then apparently she woke up and her phone was just like ding, 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 like notifications were going crazy and went viral overnight. It was,
I thought thousands and thousands, or was it up to thousands and thousands of views on this? Well, that's really exciting. And in terms of your competitions coming up, are there any that are public that people can go out and see?
I think all of them might be public, except for a few which actually are invited. Okay. Like they invite certain like groups to come. But for the most part, there are, like if you look up on Ask Fred and see which competitions are on there, then those are
okay.
Open
So
to
somebody
the
could just go on Ask Fred and take a look at the
upcoming.
Is there a name for your team? The STEM?
Rochester STEM. It was Rochester STEM Women's Fencing Team, but now we're having male fencers, so we're changing the name to Rochester STEM.
Okay, so people can check out the Rochester STEM fencers, and good luck for the rest of your season. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Our Town is brought to you in part by the following amazing people and organizations:
the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
And the members of KSMQ Public Television. Thank you.
Stay with us for more stories from Rochester. Find out why people keep getting up early to hang out together on Friday mornings, and meet Rochester's early pioneers. And Jenna Bowman is here to walk us through some of the specific responses from the Rochester Community Survey. Up first, Canvas Chardonnay has been expanding its scope in Rochester. Let's take a look in this week's Our Culture segment.
It's good therapy. You really do get this moment where you can just forget about whatever's going on, and you're like just focusing right in on painting.
Hi, I'm Leah.
And I am Tyler.
And we are co-owners of Canvas and Chardonnay. Canvas and Chardonnay is an interactive painting studio where we have instructors that guide you through a painting that you pick online. We also do open paint too, where you can come in and do your own thing where we don't have an instructor. So you come in, pick out a canvas, pick out a piece of wood, and then you can use our colors and our paintbrushes, grab a drink at the bar.
Music,
We always have a good playlist going. Every night is a special event as well.
And you can take painting as therapy or take painting as socializing, networking,
Yeah, at the end of each class, I always encourage people to get up, walk around, comment on someone else's painting, something that you like about somebody else's, and meet somebody that you've never met before. Which is a pretty cool place to do that, rather than heading to the bar to meet people that are maybe already half in the bag. You can meet people and sit across from them and have an interactive experience with each other, which is really cool.
It's
one
an
of my
excuse
favorite
to
parts.
talk about what you're doing,
Yep.
And we don't want people to strictly think of this as like a paint place.
Right.
Every Tuesday night, we do live music down here. We get a lot of local bands, a lot of great Minneapolis bands that just swing down that are on tour. Then we mesh them with a local artist, and we've had painters,
Ceramic artists.
pottery.
We've had a jewelry artist.
Yeah, we do monthly artists that we keep on rotation.
It's been really exciting to have different things here, different options. The music, the dance parties, the fiber art. It's brought in a new demographic. We've noticed a pretty large change in our customers, like age range, and I've seen a lot more men in here too, which is nice to have male and female.
We try to have the coolest, hippest beers when we can.
Yes.
And new wines, try new things.
Always trying new wines.
Yeah, we want to try more kind of local growers too.
So you can visit us online at canvaschardonnay.com. On there is our calendar. Also, you can visit our Instagram where we highlight local artists. We also highlight things that we're doing in the studio. Our Facebook is a great place to visit because we give away free tickets to paint classes, fiber classes, our live music events. When you walk in, you feel comfortable and you can get out of whatever comfort zone you were in previously and find a new comfort zone here.
Our Town. It's all about you, Rochester. Send us a picture of your favorite feature of Rochester. Rochester at ksmq.org.
For some, colder weather and darker nights mean more time for reading books. For those of you who don't want to venture downtown to grab your latest novel, the Rochester Public Library's Bookmobile is a great option. And the Bookmobile is getting a pretty cool facelift. Be one of the first to see it in person at the Bookmobile Reveal Party on Monday, November 19th from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Get all the details at rplmn.org. And for you Civil War history buffs, the Battle of Ball's Bluff will be featured at the next meeting of the Rochester Civil War Roundtable. Adam Katz will recount this small but politically important event, which haunted the Union Army throughout the remainder of the war. Check it out Wednesday, November 14th at the History Center of Olmsted County. And get ready for a hot Havana night. A Live and Love Affair Gala benefiting Citizens Hospice will be held Saturday, November 17th at the Rochester International Event Center. The event raises money to provide essential hospice and grief support services to those at the end of life, as well as those dealing with the heartbreak of loss. Details about the event and the good works of this organization are at seasonshospice.org. And have you ever wanted to be a firefly? Now's your chance. Head out to Essex Park on Saturday, November 17th for a trail run in the heart of Rochester. The course includes off-road trails, paved bike trails, and wooden hiking trails, and it's all in the dark. The race begins at Little Thistle Brewery and ends with s'mores around a warm bonfire. Runners are encouraged to wear headlamps, and the resulting effect is a scene of little fireflies bobbing around the fields and forests of Essex Park. Details at active.com. Search for 2018 Nightcrawler. Coming up next, we jumpstart our day at AM Espresso with Danielle Teal in this week's Walkabout segment.
I'm Kathleen Harrington, president of the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce.
Kathleen, there's a big crowd here right now. What is AM Espresso all about?
AM Espresso is a way in the mornings where business people, members of the chamber, nonprofits get together to support one another, to exchange business cards, to talk about their products and services and needs, share that with each other. It's about community.
I'm with Dale Covington, and we're going to talk about why he loves AM Espresso. Do you often come to the AM Espressos?
Yes, I come to every one.
So what are some things that you recommend to people when they come to AM Espresso? Obviously bring a business card, right?
Right.
Okay.
And just talk to people.
Get to talking.
Get to talk, and which I love to do. But everybody here, I think, is very energetic, and it's motivating to get to meet people who are very active in the business community.
United Way was spotlighted for the AM Espresso.
Yes.
And
delighted to host.
So what did you share that was important right now?
Well, United Way is it's a community change organization that fights for the education, health, and financial stability of every person in our community. we're trying to create a better community for all. And so this morning at AM Espresso is a great opportunity to share that with the business community, which serves a critical need in terms of providing employment and creating a strong foundation for families in terms of income.
Now, I noticed you all put a bunch of oranges in your mouth. What's up with that?
That's the United Way Orange Smile campaign. So as part of our annual campaign to create impact in our community, we've implemented an awareness campaign, which is the Orange Smile. We encourage people to dice up an orange and put a quarter orange in their mouth and smile for the camera and post it to social media and tag UW Orange Smile, and it'll be shared with all the others in the community.
I'm Danielle Teal with Our Town Walkabout at AM Espresso, and now I'm going to go get me some coffee.
How do City of Rochester residents feel about their quality of life? Our next guest is here to share what the city learned when they asked just that question. Stay tuned.
Our past, remembering what made us who we are today. Brought to you by the History Center of Olmsted County.
Rochester wouldn't exist today without the pioneers who settled it and shaped its growth. Brothers Joseph and George Stoppel immigrated to the United States from Germany in the mid-1840s. Upon learning of good land in Minnesota, they brought their families from Ohio to the small town of Rochester by ox cart in 1856. Caves dug into the hillsides on their property provided shelter that first year. Joseph's home, serving as the first school in the area, became a social gathering spot. And as the first lime kiln operator in the county, Joseph produced material that went into many of Rochester's earliest buildings. A contemporary of the Stoppels was Ellen Bisbee. Born in New York in 1836, she made her way to Rochester along with her first husband, Stiles P. Jones. After his death in 1861, Bisbee managed their farmland and eventually became a lawyer. Described as a very brilliant woman who was very independent and forceful, she remained in Rochester until 1889.
1, 2, 3, wish I was you, not me, 'cause then I might not.
Between May 22nd and June 20th, 2018, residents in the city of Rochester were randomly selected for telephone interviews to collect data for a community survey. Here to tell us what we can learn from the results of the survey is the newly appointed Communications and Engagement Manager for the city of Rochester, Jenna Bowman. Welcome to Our Town.
Thank you.
And back to Our Town in your new role, so congratulations.
Yeah, great to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process by which these surveys were conducted?
Absolutely. So the City of Rochester worked with Morris Leatherman, a firm, to conduct the surveys. There were over 400 people who completed these, as you mentioned, the telephone interviews, randomly selected residents who then answered a variety of different questions about the city.
I'm not a statistician, but can you tell us, I guess, if this was a representative sample, if, in terms of it was randomly selected, but was it a representative sample?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love data. So to that piece, I looked at our census data that we have most recently, as well as the data that came from the survey. In actuality, it does have a good representation. A couple just different points is that the demographic makeup of our community was very representative in the 400 people, as well as even something like the households that have children actually were fairly comparable as well. So in that way, I think we can be really proud of the fact that it does represent those who make up the community.
Okay, great. And what were some of the major findings?
Yeah, I think it was great to see some of the really high marks that people gave. A couple pieces being that 96% of people feel accepted and welcomed in the community. Another good one is that really a very strong majority of people feel positive about the direction that the community is heading. And then it was also really neat to see that in terms of services and things provided by the city, people felt really positively about those. And there were even a couple notes within the survey findings that the firm had said was atypical, and just how well the community ranked. More so that there weren't areas of high concern for folks. Okay. And I think in that way we can be really proud of just, again, the state of our community, but also the services on the city side that are provided and people feeling really positively about those.
That's great. Was there anything that maybe surprised you or maybe the team over at the city?
I think one of the really interesting pieces with the survey is just how long people stay in the community. Only 8% expected to move from the city within the next 5 years. And on average, people are living here at least 13.5 years. So when you think about even some of the transient nature of our community, especially for those maybe coming to Mayo to do some training, for schooling, et cetera, to know that people really plan to stay here, I think is, again, something we should be really proud of, but to me was a little bit surprising just to see that.
Yeah, definitely. You said there weren't that many high concern areas, but I guess some concerns were expressed. What were some of those?
You know, just along with being excited or happy with the direction, change and growth was something that was identified, crime, you know, those things that you could typically expect people to want to ensure. You know, crime is low, you know, growth is happening, but it's something that they feel comfortable with. Those being kind of the main areas. And obviously, as we know, the challenge is keeping up with infrastructure, so roads and bridges, et cetera. I mean, we're doing what we can, but no shortage of knowing that infrastructure is important to continue investing into.
Certainly. And how is the city going to be actively using this data?
So we've already been using it. So again, I mentioned I love data, but more so because I think it helps really give a solid framework for people to have conversations around and say, hey, does this resonate? Does it not? If not, why? So we've been sharing this throughout a wide variety of presentations. We've been looking to, if there's opportunities to plug it in here or there. We've done that. We're also collecting good data about just different city services as well. You might not know, but the city processes 13.6 million gallons of water in terms of our water reclamation facility. So I know that sounds like a funny one, but it's just, I think, hopefully people understanding, you know, to get these high marks, there's a lot going on behind the scenes to ensure a high quality of life in the community.
Definitely. And you said that you're trying to figure out some places to plug in. Can you give us an example of some places that might make sense to plug in some of this data and information that you've learned?
Yeah, so that's been both in presentations that City Administrator Steve Reimer or others have given, either here in the community or outside when they're talking about Rochester and what's going on. We have a pre-council slideshow that we do, so we've plugged in some facts there. But as well as when we talk to the media, it's also, hey, did you know? Or just trying to give those factoids to help bring that out in the community as well. As you think about the future as well, we're looking for additional ways to engage with the community aside from these types of surveys. So I'm hoping that we can have different platforms in the future where we're able to even more continually engage with the community, so we almost have real-time feedback on, again, different services or different things related to city activities to then measure against to say either how can we continue to maintain or what are the opportunities to make improvements.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Community Vision 2040 and how the survey results kind of interplay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Community Vision 2040 came out of our latest comp plan, which if anybody knows that work, it was definitely a labor of love that got completed and approved earlier this year. And the vision really lies out what we hope the community continues to strive towards. So I think in a lot of ways it puts more words to what I think the survey really identified as being a really wonderful community. Now that's not to shy away from the opportunities to make improvements, even with a high percentage of people saying that they feel welcomed and valued. That's not to say there's those times where that's not the case. So it's just, again, going back to those places and striving for that every single day.
Certainly. And so is that a vision that's going to be guiding the city council and the city government for the next several decades?
Yeah, so just this last week, you'll see it show up, the vision, as well as the priorities and strategic priorities, et cetera. There's a document, 2-page document, that is showing up in every committee of the whole packet and every city council packet. So you'll see, I think, those start to be front and center in how they guide the council, but also guide the city staff. It's a piece that's also been shared with the team. So that it's top of mind for us as well.
Certainly. And does the city plan to conduct any other surveys like this one in the near future or perhaps longer down the road?
I believe it's every 2 years that this is done. There's also some great tools out there, one in which we're looking at right now that hopefully we'll have in play in 2019 that will allow us to do surveying through the internet, so digitally. And again, that's where there's opportunities to be conducting surveys on topic matter that's really important, maybe those newsworthy pieces, but then also just those pieces that we're asking maybe every 6 months. So we're not going 2 years, and again, just using those pieces as benchmarks as we continue to provide services to the community.
And as we're wrapping up here, I also just wanted to ask you, as the new Communications and Engagement Manager, in a role that was created specifically to engage the community a bit more, are there certain, maybe what's your main priority kind of starting in this new role?
Well, I'm very, it's the good thing is it keeps me busy, but I really think it's just ensuring the community feels connected to what's happening in the city. So a lot of that really is the foundational, how do we connect data and information and processes to the community? How do we break it down in a way that's also really easily understood? I think that's kind of the value and the fact that, I'm not a planner, I'm not, an engineer in public works, so sometimes I can ask those questions to some really knowledgeable teammates and then break down the information in a way that hopefully is really digestible for the community just to feel connected. And the other big thing I hope is that we can meet people where they're at in terms of their civic engagement to pull them into the process.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more about the city and from the city in the months and the years to come. I'm also really excited to check out one of the fencing competitions. So see you next week from the University of Minnesota Rochester. This is Our Town, the show about Rochester.